NRL Fantasy round 1 is less than 4 days away now. I can't wait. I'm going to go through all of the potentially relevant players for the Raiders, Warriors, the Panthers, and also the Sharks here, just to give you a nice deep dive, and then you can make your decision. I won't give you my clear rankings or anything like that. You'll get your calls based on these stats, and hopefully that helps you guys. If you do want the rankings, please jump in the private group. Everything's in the description based on what you get in there, and then how to pay and how to join as well. So thanks for showing interest in that one. It's going to be a cracking season, and we're up near almost 300 members for the private group. So it's a hectic, awesome crew, and I definitely don't think you'll be disappointed. We have about 70% of our people from last year have come back, so they obviously did enjoy it. But in the Raiders, let's go from KO weeks to kick things off, and not very nice. His fullback stats right now, 31.2 is where he's at for him, and it looks like he's improved. He was 37 last year, but unless you expect him to go to a crazy new level, then you can't jump on KO weeks. The next guy on the list is going to be Sevilio Tamale. And the easiest thing to look at, guys, is actually going on to the New South Wales Rugby League New South Wales Cup stats and actually go through games. So it doesn't actually come up for him, his profile. So you do have to go game by game. But this was a nice one that did pop up where you even got Sione Finau in there that has some terrific stats. But if you just go to player stats, it's hard to find a game where he's not absolutely dominant. So he scored one try in this one for 79 fantasy points, 236 run meters, and 15 tackle breaks, which is just absolutely wild how that one played out. But if you just want to go into draws there in 2024, you can just scroll back or go to all teams, for example, and type in the Dragons. You can go to any kind of, they're all obviously pretty high scoring. But let's go to round 5. I believe he played in that one. If he didn't, then that's annoying for me and my analysis here. But Tamale actually played center of this one and picked up a 30. But the majority of other ones you see, he ends up in a position where, let's go to round 12. Round 12 working against the Dogs, where you see there he manages to get in amongst the tries and in amongst some really, really big run meters as well. So Tamale in centers again, actually scored 24. So we don't want him at center. I've literally picked the wrong few. But yesterday, the first 4 that I picked, his lowest score was actually a 52, which was pretty funny on that one as well. But Tamale on the wing with a try, 48, 200 run meters, and 8 tackle breaks. So I think the 4 games I picked, his lowest was 7 tackle breaks, and he had the other 3 games over 10 tackle breaks, and he averaged 50 in New South Wales Cup. So that's why we're looking at Tamale. He's 300k, obviously, and in a pretty good spot to score well. The big question with Tamale is going to be his ability to keep his spot. And he actually did score 30 in his one game at centre for the Dragons last year. Pushed his way into that spot, and you can loop him in round 1 as well. You can just play him and hope for the best come round 2. And if he doesn't work out at 300k, then you can move him to one of the other cash cows that looks like they're going to have a good role. So that's probably where you want to be at with Sevilio, is you have that easy chance to move him back if Albert Hopewadi gets his spot. He has a fantasy type game and could definitely be in a really good spot for you. Also, guys, if you're a New Zealand resident, please jump on Instagram, follow Full-Time Sports Bar. In New Zealand there, if you're a resident, as I said, they're in Auckland, and they're running a really cool fantasy league. The winner of the fantasy league gets a trip for 2 to Magic Round in 2026. So jump on their Instagram, hit follow, and type in fantasy in their pin posts, and they'll give you that code. So super excited to work with them this year. I'll be heading over to do an event with my private group in Auckland, so that's going to be super fun on that one. Moving on to Timoko. He's an interesting player in this one, and I won't go through every single player, guys. It's just the ones I think that some people might be looking at. Weeks looked incredible the other day in that play, so people will definitely look at him. But Matt Timoko, he's had some rough times for sure, but to begin last year, he scored really, really well. His lowest score of 35, and he had an 87 in there before he had some injury troubles with his shoulder and really fell off in the back end. But in 2023, he went all the way to a 44 average, and he's priced at 38. So Timoko definitely has potentially 5 points plus of value, and if you wanted to go for him, there's obviously worse picks out there. Don't go for Chris, don't go for Savage, don't go for Strange. But if you want to go for Fogarty, is next up on our list. We'll go through all of the relevant players, guys. He's a 705k, and remember, you can actually do quick compare, where you can compare 2 players if you like. So if you weren't or if you weren't too sure about two guys at a similar price point, I'll actually go and do a video on that before Sunday to do a bit of a quick compare on some of the guys in the following team list next week. But with Fogarty, he has a break even of the 52. That's what he basically averaged last year. But you're looking at scoring for him in a really good spot at the beginning of the year. His lowest score in the first 4 rounds was a 56 before he hit the 42 in round 5, back to an 82 in round 6. I think I bought him in round 5 for that 42. And then he got injured in round 7. Came back with a bang in 2021 and then fell away a little bit for 3 rounds before going back to some good scores. And you get a tremendous amount of tackles out of him. You get the goals. You get close to a try assist a game. Didn't score any tries. Massive kick meters and only a little bit of running. So you're buying him for the goals, the try assists, the tackles, and the kick meters. The kick meters, you're getting like 17 a game, which is pretty wild. So Fogarty, a really safe pick, but there are a lot of halves out there. And that's where you're looking at Fogs and you go, well, is he going to have potentially more value than 55? Like, is he going to go to 55 plus? Maybe. Is he a keeper that you want to grab and hold for the whole year? The Raiders have a terrific draw. They don't have a bye all the way through until round 15, I believe so. Is that right? Have they got it right now? 4, 8, 12, yeah. Until round 15 in that second major bye, which is really cool. And then you could do whatever you please with him from there with 3 buys following that one. So just keep an eye out on that for all of your Raiders guys. That's where they're going to be at. Tarpany will go next and then we'll go Horsburgh. So with Joey, he seems to start okay. He didn't perform perfectly last year. In 2023, he had a few good games there, a couple of 60s and a 50 odd, and minutes were a bit low for him as well. So we do need to have a look at Joey's minutes and obviously compare that to what we might get from Horse. But it was 54 minutes per game in 24. It was also 54 in 23. So expect those minutes for Joey Tarpany this year. And you can decide if that's going to help you pick someone like Horsburgh to kick things off. I think Tarpany always seems to come good in that first buy, that first main buy. So I think that's when you look to buy. You would look to buy Joey based on points, but he also goes into a bunch of missed games over that period. So I think Horsburgh, you'd pick him over Tarpany to kick things off. But if we're looking at potential minutes for the Big Red, which I'm excited about for sure, I think he definitely has value. It's just going to be how much for you. In his prop games, he has one in 2019. It was a point a minute 50, which is good. A couple in 2022, he went 46 and 68 in 48 and 49 minutes. And then he's had 3 last year where he was nowhere near his best and he still scored really well. 32 and 44 wasn't great, but 56 in 50 minutes, all base, a couple offloads. 55 in 51 minutes with a line break assist and a try. So you could expect somewhere in the low 40s for that one, but he wasn't anywhere near his fittest like he was speaking about and had plenty of issues, that's for sure, off the field. And his issues with sticky as well. Interchange games. You want to look at games over 40 minutes, I think is a pretty fair little synopsis. And there's one last year, like I said, and then you have a couple in 2023 where he scored a double in one of them. That's his only tries on this list at interchange. And that's a really good PPM, of 0.94 in those games. So what you're looking for with Big Red is 50 minutes for one. If he can get to 55 or 54, like his counterpart in Joe Tarpany, then I think it's pretty easy to think that he can score 50 in 54 minutes. He also has the potential to take some minutes off Smithies. If there's injuries in game, he could go to edge. If there's injuries in game, he can go to 13. He could play more minutes. There's a bunch of different things that stand out with Horse. We've got the chat from Ricky that he expects him to get back into the Origin arena this year. So there's some good stuff there. He's lost plenty of weight. He's talked about how much he's grown up and, all those things at 27 now. It's the time I grew up, 27. So it all makes sense on that front. There's a bit of narrative to it, but we know that if he can get a terrific spot in the lock roll, then he does average 56.5 in 63 minutes in that lock roll. And that's in over 40-minute efforts. Over 50 minutes, he averages 65 minutes for 58.3. So if it all goes right and he can get anywhere near the 60 minutes, meaning he takes a few he takes 20 at lock, for example, for Smithies to play 60, and he plays the rest of that 40 in the prop role with Mariota, Papali'i taking some minutes through that, then there's definitely an avenue for him to go higher than closer to that 50, which is probably, I think, the most likely outcome for Corey Horsburgh. So that's that one there. Pretty fun one to pick, that's for sure. With Tom Starling, 450k, and guys, we will go through all of the other players in some other videos this week. In terms of the guys that aren't named this week, just want the deep dive on these players, and we'll do my general thoughts on all the cash cows, on all the mid-range, and all the guns that I think are relevant coming into next week, and we'll do that more of a deep dive next week. But it's going to be very, very quick. We get the team list on Tuesday, first game's on Thursday, so it's good to get all the information now, and then just a quick top up once we know all the information come next week. Please hit subscribe, please hit follow on YouTube, and also on the podcast as well. You're all legends. Thanks so much. And do, as I said, private group information all in the description. Go check it out. The league code as well, the overall league code for everyone is in the description also. And how to do the full-time sports bar competition. Tom Starling, what a man, what a man. It's an interesting one, this situation for him. Let's just go to straight hooker starting games. Across his career, he's a 52.7 average in 71 minutes, which is pretty wild, to be honest with you. The minutes is probably a little bit wild too, but in 2024, he had a really good go of it as well. When he started, he averaged 50 in 73 minutes. But again, do you expect him to get 73 minutes? His only game where he was down under 65 minutes was 61, and he scored 34, hardly ran the footy, and made 36 tackles for 1 miss. So that's the worry there. He started getting tired in that last 2 games. You could see 34 in 80 minutes with 8 missed tackles, and then had 34 in the 61, which wasn't ideal. But when he's fresh, he seems to do really, really well. You know, he moved into that starting role in round 17, and he didn't go under 50 until round 23. So he has those runs that he can go up really quickly, but we're also not starting at 290k like that time. We're starting at 450, and he got up to 590 before falling back into a lower price point at that point of the season. In 2023, he had a 55-minute game for a 28, which doesn't help him. He's priced at 33. And in 2022, he went 51 in 70 minutes. How many minutes do we expect Owen Paddy to get? Is it 15? Is it 20? Is it 25? We don't know exactly what this role is going to be. You could very easily tell after that first game or two last year that Starling was going to be the guy to get 65 plus minutes, and that was the case. But Owen Paddy's a jet too. They're going to split the role of 55-25 early. Is it going to take a few weeks for Paddy to build up minutes? There are lots of questions around it, but there's also a world where Starling comes out and scores really well in round 1, 2, 3, 4, and he makes you 100k really quickly. So there's upside in it. There's some worry in it as well. If he only plays 50 minutes, and there's a few there for sure, but there's definitely plenty of upside at the same time. Hudson Young, we kind of know what we're getting from him. I don't think there's too much else to say. Expect a little bit over 50. Probably pick him at a more of a time where he can build up some more value, like coming from a cheaper price point and come in and score some tries. But Smithies, just wanted to focus on him. So 2024 obviously was his season. It's all at lock. But minutes wise, what we want to look at there is those early games. And it did have a lot of issues in game as well. I remember he kind of dropped down. He had to play big minutes in round 2 in the end. They were kind of missing a few guys. Horsburgh wasn't playing. They started getting a few guys back, and he went back to 66 and 56 minutes, which was good. In terms of, I think that's probably what he's going to be normally. And then they had injuries in round 5, and in round 6, he played 80 and 90 minutes, which is pretty crazy. Went to 47th the next week, probably needed a bit of a rest. And he can be nice like that, Ricky, to help his forwards out for sure. But then since then, he only played 3 games around that 70 mark. He had a 72-minute effort, and then he had the 70, 72, and a 69 for the rest of the year. I'm personally expecting him to hit somewhere between that 55 to 60 minutes with the team setup they've got, with Horsburgh back, hopefully playing some bigger minutes. That's where I'm putting Smithies at 55 to 60. Horse is definitely a much better player. So is Tarpany, so is Josh Papali'i. And Horse can play some minutes through 13. So 62.70 average last year. I expect that to go down a little bit, but maybe his output to improve. And Smithies isn't one to have a look at yourselves, given he's priced at 45. But I think it's got to give you a little bit of a look at other guys like Hosking, like Horse, like Tarpany as potential options for you. Zach Hosking at 582. We know that he can just be super dominant when he gets a start. It just seems to be the first games of his seasons that he goes and gets a couple of 90s or 60s. So he went try, and try assist, big tackle numbers, good run meters, good offloads as well, and turnover tackles in the first 2 games last year, 69 and 93. So it shows he's got tremendous value, tremendous potential to go really well. But I don't expect him to play 80 minutes. I expect it to be more around the 65 to 70 range, which there's definitely some worries in that range. So if you do go him over 50 minutes and under 70 minutes, it does drop down for him to 43.7 in 60. Look, I don't think he's getting that. I think it'll be closer to the 48 to 50 mark across the first, say, 5 rounds if he's not playing the full 80. But there's obviously potential for him to go to close to the full 80. And when he plays over 70 minutes, it's pretty wild, the stats, to be honest with you, just because he has a few attacking stats in that as well. In his last 4 games at the beginning of years, he's gone try, and averages 59.6. So it includes a couple of centre games as well. If you take out the centre games, I think it's over 60, isn't it? 62.6. It's pretty scary to not take him in that situation. And I do personally expect him to be close to 50 in 65 to 70 minutes. Is that enough at 43? Potentially. If we got word that he was going to be set and ready to go for round 1 to play big minutes, then we would be fine. But he's got a straight up second row player in Sasangi on the bench there, who I expect to play minutes. And with Hosking, no trials, calf issue, it's giving me big like Jamal Fogarty vibes that, if I don't take him, it's gonna kill me. But I potentially might have to run the gauntlet. I'm not sure at the moment if I'm going to take him or not. Similar with guys like Horse. I think they both provide a decent amount of value. It does include 2 90s, this tally here, which, I don't know, it's in his range of outcomes. I'm not probably expecting it, but somewhere close to that 50 makes a lot of sense if he's getting less than 70 minutes. So Hosking, a really good pick. Great upside to start. If you're not sure in that range, there's guys like Bateman and the like, just pick Hosking, in my opinion. I just got to work out if he fits my team or not. That's going to be the big one. And then Owen Paddy, it's more of a gut feel pick if you wanted to go for him at that really cheap price. Now, with the Wars, Chans should be stock standard at this point here. Taint to a picky, 450k, it's a bit annoying. So on the wing, he should be fine, but not a great pick. We've got Leatua and Roger. Let's quickly go through Ali there with his efforts of 500k. He played really well when he came into the side last year. Just didn't have any upside, and I do expect that to come, but he also averaged 1.1 line breaks a game and 0.4 tries, not crazy, 0.3 try assists, not crazy as well, but had the line breaks. Tackle numbers are solid enough. Run meters, he needs to get that at 150, and I think he can this year. And if that's the case, he probably ends up at a 45 type of average. He is priced down a little bit at 37, so there's 8 points potential value, centre and wing fullback dual at 500k. I think you could make worse selections for sure. And then Roger as well. I actually think I would pick Ali there over Roger. They're both priced similarly, but we know that he can have really good run meters at the wing. Now, can we dispel the run meter myth? I think we can. Basically, they're all set for good minutes. Let's take it. We don't have to worry about taking it out. It's about 190 if you take out that 46-minute game at centre, which is still really high, and I can't see him going much more than 200. And look, there may be some more attacking chances on the wing in terms of try scoring, but he's also not going to be on the right side, which I think is probably a little bit of a better side to land on. So I expect Tuapiki early to score a few more tries than Roger, just because he's got Ali next to him rather than Pompey, to be honest with you. So I think Roger's fine. I'd probably pick Leatua instead, both with that dual position. Now Chanel, him and Metcalf haven't played together, so we can't say that he's definitely going to get all these massive kick meters. He obviously played as a dominant half through this time in 2024, where he did a lot of the kicking, and that's part of the worry. He did kick for a little bit more than Metcalf the other day in that setup. They had a few last tackles on that left-hand side, or a run down there on the fourth, and then he would kick. I definitely expect him to take some kicking meters there, but across his career, his kick meters are at 160. I probably expect somewhere between that 160 and 200, and Metcalf to be sort of splitting that to 250, 300, that type of range. And in that scenario, you are looking more at Metcalf obviously as an option at this point with there's so many halves at 353k. Would you take him over Humphries? I personally don't think so. He also could lose his spot just like Humphries could, but at 5'8" there, you do have an average of 32.3. Price at 26, I think that's enough to leave him out of your side. Even though last year in 2024 he did average 41 in that time period, taking out a couple 2.5 points in goals puts him into that sort of 38 range, which definitely has some value in it. But that includes 350 in kick meters, which I don't think will happen. So that's Chanel. And then Metcalf, we've had our analysis on him. It's very hard to look at his previous stats at 5'8" there when you are, because he doesn't have any halfback stats, and it doesn't really include many kick meters. It includes goals in some games, 0.5 goals per game. So it's 34.5 is the average across that time period. You take out a couple of the games where he has got injured, which is definitely a factor. That's 5 points of value before you add in the goal kicking, before you add in the kicking in general play, and surely an increase in try assists of 0.4. And tries are 0.6, which is pretty, a decent height. But I suppose you can go up on the try assist stage on that front. All right, let's go to Fish Harris, the big fish. This is how I go through and study them all, guys. But when you're looking at players like Fish, you want to get him to some decent minutes. And when you see last year in 2024, he did have some low minute games. He had a round 2 effort of 24 minutes, an interchange game of 34. But let's go over 40 minutes for him, and you see a 50 in 51. Do you expect him to play 51 minutes? Do you expect him to play 55? Do you expect the same PPM as last year? Because 2023, that was down at 0.9, but last year was 0.98. Can you see that exact same PPM at the Panthers? He still seems to me like a guy with a pretty good floor of that 45 and has potential for 50 to 55 points, but is he going to get there? That's going to be the big question. With James Fisher-Harris, it's really, really nice viewing last year. 0.2 on the try scoring rate, and in 2023 he didn't score any tries. So that's where that little bump came from. The tackles are at 31 and they're at 30 last year. So run meters at 140. I don't expect that too much to change too much. So if you expect it's the same 4 tries this year, then you could probably expect a 50 average from Fish. Let's go to Barnett. So with Barnett at 712, here's that dual position as well. I expect him to be very, very solid this year. I can't expect anything under 50 minutes, so we'll have to put the over 50 minutes in that section. It does spit out to a 67 minutes per game with 54.6, the average. So that pretty well has him stock standard to where he is last year. You could obviously go, in over 60-minute games, he absolutely crushed, but still 57.7, and that's 72 minutes, which includes prop. It includes second row games, which, at times, he did really well in second row. He had a 68 there and scored a try. He had a 57 in that one. He obviously had a 35, but that is part of his outcomes at second row, and a 33. So if you go into prop in that massive minute role, it's 63. And you can't expect over 60 every game. That's him at 68.4 minutes. So down to 63 minutes is 56, and just a really solid pick to start with a buy in round 5, dual position. Not a lot of downside in my opinion with Barnett, and he has 110 in that list of potential outcomes as well. Solid pick. Will you pick him? If yes, sweet. If not, also sweet. Not a problem at all with that one. All right, who are we getting to now? Don't need Cabell, don't need Niukore. We need Aaron Clark and Wade Egan. So quick one on Egan. How exciting is he? That's the big question. And this is a big part of the video, guys. These two teams, which we obviously spent a lot of time on in the TLT as well. So if you haven't checked that out, do so. If you're a Supercoach fan, go check out my middies video that just posted earlier today as well. And Wade Egan, we know that when he's on the park, he's great. But can we guarantee that? We probably can't. But you saw last year, crushed it to begin. 61, 51, 71, and 49, priced at 41. So that's really, really cool. 2023 had some really solid numbers to begin as well. Lowest score of 48 in his first 6 games, but it did include some lower minute games as well. Now, some people are thinking that Aaron Clark will take over as hooker. So let's just look at all the games he's played in 2023. He did average 68 minutes, but that includes 38-minute injury games. So let's just take that one out and just see what he would play on a general basis, which is 73 minutes in 2023. Let's go to 2024 and he had a 56-minute game, which I think is fine, and 57. But overall, he averaged 75 minutes. So I don't think Aaron Clark will take too many minutes from him. The expectation from Egan is that if he can, he'll get close to the 80 out, especially early on. If he's not copping heaps of knocks, they're doing all right. He's a very, very important part of their team makeup and of their attack. So I expect Egan to be on there as long as possible, and maybe throughout the season we'll start to get to lower minutes. They've got Healy and these guys that can come in as well, and obviously Clark can help out at 9, but you don't want that. Personally, in my opinion, you want Clark, if you're going to pick Clark, at 13, which we'll get into right now, at 482. So for him, you've got the dual position, the hook and the mids. 36 is where he's priced at, which is still pretty high. And everyone's just going to go straight to his lock points. So when he plays lock, he averages 48 in 51 minutes. One of them's a 41-minute game. You can't take that out of his list of his range of outcomes for sure. So a 48 would give him 11 or so points of value in 51 minutes. But can you keep up that PPM? It's pretty impressive, that's for sure. And all of that is in mixture between 2022, 2023, which he did have that 76 with the try, and then he also had 31 in that time, and also the 21 was in, just the one game at lock last year for 31 in 38 minutes. So can you expect him in that pack to get more minutes than Dylan Walker? Can you expect him to get just a little bit less minutes than a Fisher Harris at like a 55, where Clark, is he going to get a 50 at 13? When Walker was playing 55 minutes, when Tohu Harrison was in the team as a 70-minute guy last year. There's so many things to think of with this, and if you think it's 50, then great, there's over 10 points of value. But if it's not that, and it's interchange roles, let's just say it is over 40 minutes off the interchange, 44.4 minutes is 37.7, which is only a tiny bit of value. And even if you picked it up to 48, the PPM is worse off the bench, and it probably should be better, unless you just, he's banking a hell of a lot of tackles in game one, and he's moved to a different team. There's all these type of things to think of. I don't know if you can guarantee 10 points of value. I think he can get pretty close to 5. I think he can be a 40 guy pretty comfortably, but that's 4 points of value, not 10. Mid 40s, bit of a stretch. 50 and 50, a bigger stretch. So he's got the hooker dual with mid. I think he's a really solid pick. If you're picking him, I'm not pushing away. We'll leave it at that. I don't think Halasima is an option at this point, but Valmarga looks like he's the guy that is going to get somewhat okay minutes there. And he did have one game last year of 32 minutes for 39 points. Picked up a point a minute 22 and a 25 in 12 minutes, which is pretty wild, along with a 26 in 23 in one game in 2023. So if you think you can get near 30 in terms of minutes, I definitely think he can be a point a minute. That's about 8 points of value. So it's okay. It's okay. So that's that game. Pretty fun one, that's for sure. And now let's go to Penrith and the Sharkies. And we do have to focus on a couple of these guys. Dylan Edwards, I'm seeing in a couple of teams. And with Dylan at 730k, he started pretty well last year. That's for sure. He picked up tries, picked up some assists, and especially through round 5 or round 4 onwards there, he didn't go under 57 until round 24. He did miss some games in there after Origin for sure. But yeah, he was awesome. He was kicking goals as well, so you do have to have that out of your range of outcomes with Cleary there. But Edwards, a really solid pick to start. I think he's going to have to do a lot for this team. They have a pretty solid run. I think it's going to be a fun game, this Cronulla Sharks one. I think expecting somewhat level of points going to be in there, and plenty of run meters for Dill. Should do well against Roosters, guys like Rabbitohs, Cowboys, Dolphins. Should be fun for him. So not a bad pick by any means. Casey McLean, I think at this point, you probably just wait, see how he looks. Bit of an awkward price. Isaac Tungo, we've spoken about him plenty already, but at 500k, he had moments last year where he was absolutely terrific. especially in those early games against those back rowers, but then he was pretty poor. So we can write it off in some way, shape or form. He crushed it without Cleary at the back end of the year before, but he did have, heaps of 50 plus games, but in amongst that, a bunch of 20s and 30s. So you need his run meters up at 161 compared to last year. He ended up at 130. So there's 30 less, gives him less chance of scoring tries, tackle breaks, offloads. So I can't expect him going any lower than 40 personally, but can he go up to high 40s? I'm not sure. So Tungo, an okay pick. Don't look at Garner. Don't look at Alamotti on the wing. Jack Cole, tremendous stats when he plays 5'8", and it doesn't include too many kick meters. There are a few in there, obviously, but let's just look at him at 5'8". It wasn't next to Cleary in those times, next to Schneider and Luai, these types of players there. But he did pick up in 5 games, 2 games under 70 minutes, and that's a small worry that Dane Laurie's there on that bench. But 32, 58, 39, 59, and 33 for an average of 44. Price at 19 is pretty tough to ignore when he scored more than his break-even just in tackles alone. So he averaged just under 22 points in tackles alone made to miss, which is really, really cool to go along with a little bit of kicking, which I do expect a little bit. Cleary won't kick every single time, probably under 100 meters though. 77 run meters a game, which was great. Couple of, 1.5 tackle breaks, couple of try assists in there at times. So he'll get the odd try assist on that left-hand side. It's not going to be, all Cleary. It can't be for this team to go well. So a good defensive half that I think is a pretty good pick from round 1 there, Jack Cole. Cleary, do we have to put his stats up? Probably not. Probably have to just, I'm having a look at guys like Isaiah Yeo as captain, which is hilarious. But more for the fact that last year, round 1, 51, 58 in round 2. 2023, he went 61 into 37. So not perfect scoring across that first few weeks. But he does have the most amount of hundreds in the game. You see 4 there across the last couple of years. And then obviously dominated in 2021 where he got plenty, a couple in 2020 as well. So Cleary has the most upside in the game. That's what you're looking at here. Heaps of 70 plus games as well, which can be the case with Isaiah Yeo as well, who we'll go to now at 865. I just love looking at this, to be honest. Last year in 2024 was very similar to 2023, but 70, 58, 57, 64, 74, 55, 66, 61, yada, yada, yada. Consistency. And that's what you're looking at if you are buying Isaiah Yeo, and there's a lot of people that do own him, so fair play. I'm one of those people. As you saw in my 7 players that I'm locking in for round 1. Lindsay Smith, next guy on the list. It's hard to see him getting too many more minutes. He's already 600k as well. But last year, in general, he did average 51 minutes there for a 45 average, which included the odd big game at lock. So there's that. And he actually scored worse in the starting position. 38.7 in 50 minutes. So that's not exciting at all. I expect him to kind of hover around that 45 for this year. Sorensen, I just don't think we can take. It's probably not worth it. He's gone 50 plus before on the edge, but I don't think he plays full 80. Yeah, it's a bit of a worry. Mitch Kenny, don't touch. Liam Martin, he just doesn't score well in fantasy. Isaiah Yeo, we've gone through. Isaiah Papali'i, we have to wait and see on him. And moving to the Sharks, Stone Street is one you could take a flyer on if you wanted to. We also know with Will Kennedy, he's due for his high 30s year, coming off his high 20s year. He seems to do that pretty regularly. But Stone Street, all the games he scored a try. He's at 1.6 tries per game. Hasn't had the tremendous upside with it when he does score a double, which is annoying. So good run meters in there overall in a couple of those games, but that is runaway tries and the like. 49, 48, 50. For a total there of a 40 average, price at 33. It's okay. And again, you'd probably look at him more in Supercoach with the more than double attacking stat points, but he's also priced up heavily in that. Someone that I really love, and we obviously all enjoyed last year, is Cat Lero. And his scores at the beginning of the year were really solid. He was really cheap at that point, and then he became a keeper for us. When he started scoring tries himself, which he didn't score one from his first game all the way through until round 19, he went 61, 47, 56, 63, 67, 38, and 57. A tremendous player with great work ethic, tackles pretty well overall also, and gets tackle breaks for fun. Kaylee Rowe, a terrific pick. If you want to jump on them, if you think that they're going to have a really good start. Yes, it's against Penrith round 1, but none of their big dogs have had a trial either. So I think they'll be really solid. You got Cowboys, Rabbitohs, Dogs, Canberra, Manly, Knights, Tigers. Like he can have a really good run and be in your team all year if you wanted to go for someone like him. Trindle is obviously a fun one as well. So with him at 510k, he looked really, really good last year at times for sure. And he began really, really slow with 3 scores under 20. But following that, it was hard to get him out of the 40s, to be fair. And, priced at 38. Do you want someone just that's regularly in the 40s? He did have a 73 and a 57. But outside of that, it was 40 central. So at best, it's probably a low 40s average, in my opinion, for Braden Trindle. At 5'10", just not spectacular. Not spectacular at all. And Hines was a terrific pick to start last year. He went 250s and 2 mid-70s, and then had an 89, a 124, 270s again before it fell apart. So Hines is a terrific pick to start this year as well. And in 2023, averaged 74. You can't ignore that. 2022, averaged 69. So he's priced at 61, is absolutely a tremendous pick, but there's some worries around it as well. Obviously, with Trindle covering more of those kick meters, the team's really good though, and I think he can do some great work. And he looked awesome with try assists in their trial game as well. So Nicho Hynes, a good pick, round 1. Will you go for him? That's the big question. Adam Fanua-Blake, we know we're going to get from him, but probably a little bit less minutes. So if you want to take that punt, go for it. It's a little bit of a worry. Blake Brayley or Kafusi, more of what they are. Nikora, I think you wait and see with him. He can score really well, but usually it's better to buy him a little bit cheaper. Teague Wilden straight up has like 5 to 7 points of value if he can get back to the big minutes, which I think he will. He looked awesome in the end of season final stuff, and I think can continue to do well off the back of that and average about 50. It's a little bit of value. Cam McInnes, I don't expect him to go massive minutes either because you've got Adden, you've got guys like Talakai, Helmenwele, Hazleton, McInnes, you've got 80-minute back rowers. Kafusi, you've got Adam Fanua-Blake, 80-minute 9 as well. There's too much going on for McInnes, I think, to go nuts, and he's priced at a 50 as well. So plays really well when he gets some massive minutes, but I just don't expect it longer term. And that's it. They're all the relevant players heading into Vegas. Do make sure you set your team up with your vice captain, your captain. They're locking in. All these players will lock in, but you need to be your full 21 to be set within the cap to be eligible for points. If you're not finished, it's going to say you're not eligible. So make sure you've set that up, and then we can muck around and move players from all of the other teams and all the other, once we get that team list and go through that next week, they're the important things. So make sure you lock that in, and we'll get the team list next Tuesday, and the next game, third game of the round, because it's 2 this Sunday. Third game of the round will be Thursday next week, I believe. Should be. Anyway, that's that, guys. Thanks so much for being here for the deep dive on those players, and we'll do a deep dive on the rest of the players next week that have plenty of relevance. Make sure you stick around for some Supercoach content this week for my cash cow video, my mid-range video, and my guns video. Super excited for that. Thanks so much for being here. Check out all the stuff in the description, and we'll see you in the next one.